All right, we're back. Luke Thomas, Danny Segura, and Brian Campbell. I felt that show was one of our better shows. I really liked the debate.
Your temperature was rising. You know, your blood pressure was up.
Everybody wants consensus. I don't want consensus. I want disagreement.
You ever been like in a subway or public area and you see two people, they may end up having a fist fight, and you're like, I'm a Samaritan, I could go the other way. Should I walk over just in case and try to break this up and risk getting hit? I was like, how quickly can I get out
come
of
off.
I feel like
you're the world star.
There was some heat over here.
It's like you're the world star type of guy. You'd be there ready with your phone.
Yeah.
Everybody just wants their opinions parroted back to them, and right or wrong, I'd rather have a debate about it. Right? Agree?
Yeah, it's good to have discussions, and it's good to have different ideas. And
There you go.
All right, let's beat off. What are you guys ready?
There we go. All right, that's a weird person at the end of that table. Let's go to our first tweet, please. Okay, Danny, you first. What's the worst aspect of UFC contracts? The fact that fighters don't own their likeness, the fact that fighters can't talk about the terms of their contracts, or that the UFC can effectively can the contract whenever they want?
I think the last one, yeah. I think the fact that like you have a contract to fight someone. I think Paul Felder made a good point about this, like maybe last year when he was supposed to fight. Who was it? I forgot the exact situation, but
He was fighting Vic for UFC Nebraska, right?
Right, and then that fight got moved.
You know about 223 in Brooklyn?
That's what the one I'm talking. Was he supposed to fight Al?
No, he was fighting.
Pettis?
I think you might be right. No,
Wasn't he fighting Pettis?
Pettis.
He was supposed to fight someone.
I don't remember. It's a good point.
The case is the fact that like you have a contract, you signed that you're fighting so and so, and the UFC can go, well, we're taking your opponent, put him somewhere else, you're without a fight. And you know, you have a legal document saying you're fighting this person at this date, at this venue, and yet that doesn't really mean anything. You know, it can change at any moment. And you know, maybe you have plans of going on vacation after. Maybe that's the only time that suits you. Who knows? So, you know, I think that's a big one.
Yeah, they can use a players' union. Union, yes, here. Like GSP and Bjorn once told you, right? Did I just get my credential pulled? All right, let's move on. Yeah,
yeah, I would just say the, I don't know if it's the worst part, but the likeness part is kind of crazy, if you ask me. But yeah. Here's the thing. I saw that on the Joe Rogan's Fight Companion, they were talking about what they think the Cowboy and Conor fight was signed. And I don't know what they know, but they kind of hinted that it was a done deal. And Dana was like, it's not even close to a done deal. I don't know what that means, but I have a hunch. Again, I don't know. So if they talk to Conor, great. But here's the thing. If all you did was talk to Cowboy, they can give him a bout agreement to fight Conor, and then they don't have to, based on the wording in there, they don't have to acknowledge it. They can just give a bout agreement to somebody else, a la what they did at 205 for Habib and Eddie. They can go 1,000 different. So if Cowboy's got one, hey, I hope they honor it. I'd love to see a Cowboy-Conor fight. But that he has that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Next. All right, there, Mr. Campbell. What does an MMA world look like if the UFC were to fold today? Does Bellator become de facto leader, or do more promotions start opening up both domestically and or internationally? Great work with the beat.
all right. It becomes this wild, wild west, also known as boxing. Thank you very much, where the great fights almost never happen, and the greed slowly pulls from the sport. Right now in boxing, we're doing good. A lot of TV money out there.
Yeah.
I'm cashing some of those checks. We're doing good at the moment.
I see that.
But as you saw with Tyson Fury, not to go all boxing on you, but signing with ESPN and Top Rank and a co-promotional
100 million
deal.
more.
Now you have the top 3 heavyweights in the world, all unbeaten, all getting us so fired up that they're going to fight each other, and all 3 tied to separate TV deals that will likely prevent them from ever fighting each other unless the money piles up so high that we can do a 2-network joint pay-per-view. It's all a bunch of crap and BS, and MMA would be there tomorrow if UFC fell apart.
You know what's funny about this? Anthony Joshua did like the media tour in New York for this Jarrell Miller fight, and I was watching him on SiriusXM. He came by. I was watching him on The Breakfast Club, all these places, and folks were asking him like, "Yo, man, like, why aren't you fighting Deontay Wilder?" And he was like, he basically got back to this position, which is, you know, show me what's in the way. Show me why I can't do this. It's like, dude, all y'all say this at every fight you take with not the other guy. Y'all keep taking fights with the people we don't want you to take fights with, and then in the media tours, tell us why, yeah, for sure that other guy is next. It's like, we're through the looking glass on this one.
Yeah, I agree. It would be the same thing. Some fighters would go to Bellator, some fighters would go to One, you know, all kinds of promotions depending on, you know, where they're from, what deal, you know, better suits them. And yeah, it'd be spread up, and it would be a lot of fights, you know, that wouldn't happen. That's the good thing about the UFC, is that we do more often than not get the fights that we want to see.
Yeah. Well, there's a clear part of that question I don't think we answered, is that would it just be open season where suddenly guys Would these promotions, Bellator, become like representatives of fighters rather than
Golden Boy MMA would come back,
forming their own league? So it would be more like the networks would hold the power, because the networks could say, okay, I want that fighter from Bellator and that fighter from one to fight each other on our network, or would it eventually turn into a thing where there's separate leagues and no one's fighting each other, which is kind of where boxing is at right now? Anyway.
Well, Ryzen and Bellator seem to have a good working relationship, so that'd be a good place to start.
They also have a good working relationship because they're both on the outside, though.
In any industry where you get that kind of a breakup, at first there's a period of collaboration. I think at first you'd get a lot of crossover where folks are looking to make big fights and make things possible, and there aren't these institutional hurdles, and then competitors would die off and you'd see a reconsolidation. Now, how that would look, I don't know. You would imagine Bellator would probably be at the front of that list, but who's to say what some billionaire might, maybe the Fertittas come back in, scoop everybody up. You know, so there would be a reconsolidation, but I do think there'd be a honeymoon phase where you'd get some big fights like that. So, next. All right, table. What are your thoughts on college athletes making in millions of dollars for the NCAA and colleges, risking injury before they turn pro while not getting paid? If you guys didn't see last night, Zion Williamson, who might be the most exciting athletic talent on earth, 30 seconds into a game where the tickets were upwards of $4,000 a seat for a college game. Spike Lee was there, the former president, and 30 seconds in, this like athletic phenom dribbles, and like tries to stop, and when he does, his shoe just explodes. And I've never seen,
maybe his knee along with it.
Well, it turns out to be minor. I think he has a knee sprain, so he'll be all right in the end. But everyone out there is like, dude, why is this guy playing? He's going to be #1 in the draft. He's going to make obviously his rookie contract, but he's going to make a ton of money in the NBA. Sit this dude. This is gross and unfair. Table, how do we feel about it?
It's BS. This has been talked about forever. You know, they are out there putting on a show. You know, a lot of people are making money off them, but they're not, which is pretty ridiculous. And look, you know, they're college kids. College kids need money, so yeah, it's a messed up situation.
We're far away from that argument of, well, hey, they're getting free education and the exposure to get themselves ready to be drafted. We know how dirty this NCAA business is with the college football and college basketball TV deals and what the coaches are getting paid through apparel deals. Yeah, it's time to have some form of...
Although to recognize Zion can't go to the draft because the NBA put a rule you have to be, 19 to go, so they kind of have to sit out a year. I'd like them to do a year where like maybe they play in the G League, like the Rio Grande Red Vipers, and the DC's is the go-go, which is a type of music native to DC. So why can't they do that? Why can't they play like professional ball with other pros? But
well, they can. It's just there's not that profitable. There's no exposure.
But okay, but I'm saying find a way for them to make money doing that. Like create like you still go through the draft.
I mean, didn't Brandon Jennings, for example, the former Bucks guard, go to Europe for his 1 year rather than?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. Did you say go-go music?
Yeah, go-go music.
Is that like those bands you like Dying Children, or is that more like?
No. It's like Trouble Funk and Backyard, and So there's a style of music native to DC called go-go. Wow. It's heavy percussion, and it's obviously an African American art form, which is dying because the music's changing.
But all right.
Go-go, yeah.
So that's the opposite of Luke Thomas death metal. Yes.
So the DC NBA team is the Wizards. The G League team is the go-go. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I don't know what Miami's is.
I have no idea.
Arroz con pollo.
No, probably, yeah. Cafecito, cortadito.
I bet it's something like that. But generally, here's what my only thing about the guys going to college. College ball is just not as interesting as it used to be. I remember the days when Shane Battier went all 4 years, it was so much better. But the other part is, I agree that they should be able to go pro right away. The problem for me is they want to avoid another Kwame Brown situation where you draft a kid right out of high school, and he was from Podunk, Brunswick, Georgia, which, you ever been to Brunswick? No? Don't go. In any event, so he gets out, and have you ever read stories about Kwame living in D.C. by himself, where he didn't know how to clothes shop? No one ever showed him how to shop for clothes. And he would buy suits that his agent would tell him to go buy, and he didn't know you could wash them, so he would just throw them on the floor and then go buy another suit and another suit. Like, literally, he didn't know how to live. What the NBA, I think, wants to avoid is a situation where they get that again. Yes. They want someone who has just a little bit of life skills. Yeah. How do you do that between 18 and 20 without college oversight?
Let's not forget Michael Jordan bullied the crap out of him as
There's that, too.
It's a great book called When Nothing Else Matters about Jordan's 2 seasons in Washington that has a lot of dirt in behind the scenes.
So, but my point is, yes, he got bullied, but even without that, this was a kid from a super poor part of the country who just didn't know what he was doing. They don't want to run into that again. But all right, there you go. Next, please. The legendary Scottish sports journalist Hugh McIlvaney, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, passed away recently. This got me to thinking, which sports writers and journalists in general do you enjoy? And could you recommend a sports-related book which really impressed you or had an effect on you? All right, who wants to go first on that? I thought it was a great question, actually. I do not know who the journalist is in question, the Scottish gentleman, but I've been thinking a lot about this recently. Forget the book part. What other journals do you read? Let's say outside of MMA. Oh my God. Oh my God.
I don't have any.
I try so hard. I try.
Everyone over at MMA Fighting.
You don't follow any other sports?
Soccer.
You clearly do.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anyone in soccer you follow?
I follow, but not just like written, somebody that writes, for example. I follow like a few people that talk about soccer a lot. Anita Coas is one from Being Sports. A few journalists like that, but no, I don't have like a favorite that I'm like, oh, I'm a huge fan of and I just follow consistently.
Yeah, I think it's changed because, growing up in the 80s, before the internet, newspaper columnists and the ones who could make it on TV had a lot more power, and then you got a hold of their TV personality, and then you've sought out their newspaper, and then you sort of can build this sort of, wow, I love this guy, I follow him, or Sports Illustrated feature writers or whatever. Now it's just a mess on my Twitter timeline, and it's like do I even read these stories I click on, or am I just trying to get the meat out of it? It's not like I'm following one person, even in the fight game.
I couldn't possibly disagree more. I agree that what you're talking about is a real phenomenon that can happen. But of your teams, you don't find people who cover them better than others?
No, and it's because covering 3 combat sports, and especially getting pro wrestling in there, which to cover at the highest level, you need to watch it just an unhealthy amount of hours. Yeah. I don't have time to follow teams anymore.
That's true as well.
Wow. All right, well then I guess I'll answer this question. So let's pick a team, shall we? I like, if you're into, let's say, anything DC related, which I'm sure many of you are not, but if you are, Grant Paulson and Danny Rouillet do an amazing show on middays. Chad Dukes as well. Grant Paulson writes for The Athletic. If you're going to the Washington Post, Dan Steinberg of the DC Sports Blog was a big one I used to like. Thomas Boswell, Barry Svoluga. Let's see, at Sports Illustrated, Andrew Sharp does an incredible column for the NBA. I like Nick Wright and Chris Carter on FS1. Who else do I follow?
No, now you're talking about, you like their TV personality?
But also people who are other media figures. From Madrid, I like Dermot McCorrigan. He is an English-speaking journalist who covers La Liga. You could do Lucas Navarrete, who is the head of the Managing Madrid blog at SB Nation. He's another one who's phenomenal.
Yeah, shout out to guys into a Calderon from SB Nation.
See, I'm beginning to dig through the layers here.
I guess I was missing the spirit of your question. We're talking about which talking heads in other sports.
Well, it's not just talking head, but I don't follow any just jackass who has an opinion. I like the ones who have smart, dedicated opinions and have clearly well-researched in the field. In boxing, Scott Christ over at Bad Left Hook is good. Obviously, you can follow Brian Campbell in there as well. Steve Kim, I like a lot as well. I think it's actually, if you just take in the mush, then that's what it becomes. When you curate around particular personalities, that's when the good stuff begins to appear. That's when you really begin to dig into the details. And that's really what I like. I try to find the very best people for...
Big Chuck Mindenhall fan.
Chuck Mindenhall's great, except when he's writing, which is terrible. No, I'm kidding.
But never meet your heroes, though. Once you meet these guys and hang out with them, I'm just kidding, by the way.
So those are some big names. I dedicatedly follow what they have to say. Even when I disagree, it's because I know that they have an opinion, right or wrong. It's well-researched. That's what I like.
Big Brett Okamoto fan. I don't know if you ever met that guy.
I have a couple times. He gives you the brush off a little more these days.
A little too cool for
school. Little more these days, but generally he's been great. Generally he's been great. All right, next. I love this little GIF. Watch this. My favorite is because the whole drink just comes flying out right there. See that? He's obviously talking on the phone. This is some frat bro. This is me 20 years ago, bro. I was doing this. I have passed out in the dumbest of places. All right, boys.
You rock the blazer, the shades.
Well, when I was in a fraternity, which was, fraternities in America are one step short of white nationalist organizations. So
yeah, I've always called them white gangs.
We weren't violent, but we were otherwise honkies. In any event, yes. So I used to do that kind of bit, but not anymore. But best hangover food was the question. Best hangover food, Danny.
Caldo de costilla. You know about that?
Yes.
In Colombia, there's this soup that's made out of like the rib of cattle, And
It's like short rib, beef short rib.
Yeah, and it's supposed to. They say it's levanta muertos, like it literally erases people from the dead. Like when you're hungover, like your head hurts, you know, you're a mess. You just go get a caldo de costilla. It's got potatoes in it, you know, cilantro, everything, corn. You eat that and you're set for the day.
It's like the kind that's got the clear broth, not fully clear, but clearish.
Yeah.
And here's the best part is I didn't know what it was, and I had it one time. You kind of eat over the bowl of soup, so the heat coming up makes you sweat.
Now that's
and then
yes.
here's the underrated part of it: you're getting like tasty beef, tasty veggies, plus all that water from the broth. Yeah. It's actually a pretty nifty little trick how they get you to eat that.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to bounce back after a hard night for sure.
Yeah, I've always stood by Denny's as being the best hangover food possible.
Yeah.
Any kind of sloppy breakfast where you're combining the elements of pancakes, eggs, and just a lot of syrup just over everything that doesn't even belong there. It's, you know, not in a gas station, go to the diner there. Denny's water has saved me many a night or morning, yeah.
I would say leftover calentado, but basically like leftover like rice, reheat it the next day, put some egg in it, put some protein in it, and then Pedialyte. Pedialyte. As I get older, bro, Pedialyte is that deal for me. I need it in my life. So I would say that. I don't go to Denny's.
No. I don't, except for when I'm absurdly hungover, yeah.
When was the last time you were absurdly hungover?
I'm old now. I've got the old man disease where it's unpredictable. Like I could be absurdly hungover off of like 3.5 beers at like a neighbor's house just hanging out one night.
Yeah,
it's really bad, yeah.
Danny?
Like last Thursday.
Yeah, the old man thing is you're not ready for this yet. You're at the age now where you basically know what you're going to get into based on what you drink.
Yeah.
But there comes a point in your biology where your biology just fails you, where you're all of a sudden, oh, it's like I know if I have 6 beers, this will happen.
Yeah.
But then you get to a situation where you have literally 1 or 2 cocktails, and you're like, why do I feel this way? Dude, your biology just quits on you.
Or you have 1 16-ounce
What's the age limit?
I didn't really, okay, so I'm 39. I didn't really feel anything even through 35. I'd say around 36, 37.
I started to get unpredictability about 29, 30, but still could control it, still could monitor it.
No.
Once I got about 34, 35, all bets are off. What you're saying, I mean, I can have a night with friends where I'm laughing, I can drink 9, 10 beers, and it's fine the next day, and I think, oh, I'm back, I'm good.
Yeah.
I can even have a couple whiskey shots, I'm good. And then, like I said, 2 glasses of wine with my wife on a Tuesday night, and the next morning there's a javelin sticking out of my forehead.
Yes, I completely agree.
Man, that sucks.
So how old are you?
26.
You got a good 10 years, I'd say.
Yeah.
After that, bro,
It's a good.
your biology.
Still my prime.
Your biology, yeah, you're in your prime. You're in your prime. After that, you know, it's off to the regional scene for you.
Yeah.
All right, next. Hey, yo, why does Jason Herzog's name never come up when the best referee thing comes up? Shouldn't the best referee be the one who is never talked about? To a degree, that's a good point, actually. Yeah. I can't remember him ever making a bad call, and he always has sweet Nike Air Max shoes. Thoughts, '*S. Thanks, fellers. Jason Herzog never gets credit. Here's the thing I've noticed about him. I've seen him in Bellator for years at this point. I don't know that I've seen him in the UFC that often. I don't know what the reason for that is.
I've seen him a lot. He doesn't seem to get pay-per-view main events. But
maybe that's it. Okay.
He is a good ref.
He is a super solid ref. I saw him and I met him at the MMA Awards several years ago. Couldn't have been nicer. Thoughtful, has interesting ideas. And you're right, there are a couple of guys that just kind of float out there who do, like another guy who...
Mike Beltran is a good...
Mike Beltran's a super... Everyone just clowns the thing, but you just grade him on his abilities. He's pretty good. Leon Roberts is another one, dude. Leon Roberts never gets this acclaim as a great ref. Dude, how many times have you seen Leon Roberts with a bad stoppage? Yeah, everyone's got a few of them, okay? But generally, he's a very good referee. I'd say the same thing for Herzog, Roberts.
Josh Rosenthal.
Josh Rosenthal.
Is he still? Because I know he was out for a while. Is he back?
He's back. I don't know how back he is, but he has refereed shows. I know that the commission, basically what they were waiting for is while he was on probation, after he got out, they wanted that to be over, and then they were going to reintroduce him, and I think that is now over. So he is back. Now, how active he is, I don't really know. Man, that's the story to get. I have reached out to Josh Rosenthal probably 50 times to try to get him on the show, and every time it's, doesn't even respond. Chuck Mindendahl told me the exact same thing. He just doesn't want to do media, but that's the guy. You want to talk about stories?
Get media. Let's just hang out with him, right?
Yeah. It's all legal in California now anyway, so who cares? But is that it? One more? I think we have one more. Let's see it. Are you interested in the new One Flyweight tournament or any of their events? Saludos desde España. Okay, let's see here. Let me pull this up. Who is in there?
They just signed Yushin Okami.
They did.
Be still, my heart. Let's see. Here is their Flyweight World Grand Prix. Okay. God, I cannot see. I'm just dying. I'm literally dying. Yuya Wakamatsu is going to fight Demetrius Johnson. Then Tatsumitsu Wada, the World Anti-Doping Agency, is going to fight Ivanildo Delfino. On the other side, you've got Karat Akhmatov taking on Reese McLaren. And then Danny Kingad taking on Andrew Leone. There are a couple names in here, including Andrew Leone and Karat Akhmatov, that are pretty interesting. Obviously, Demetrius carries some weight as well there. Yeah. Beyond that, I don't know. Am I really interested? No, I'm not really interested.
Other than watching Demetrius, just seeing how he does at one, like, you know, that's sort of...
Yeah, the names that they've signed are going to pull us in, whether it's Sage Northcutt or even Sexyama, and then it's up to them to sort of try to impress us in that. Am I excited? Yes, because I know those names will get me there, but they're still going to have to live up to it. I don't have no expectations for how good or bad it's going to be when I get there.
Yeah, I'm not excited, you know, for the tournament per se, but I'm just really curious to see how Demetrius looks at one, how busy he's going to be in just that chapter in his career.
Okay, I'm not going to front. I don't really care. So, I don't really care.
There you go.
Any more? Let's see if there's any more. That's it? Oh, we're good. That's it. We're done. Ended with I don't care. All right, so there we go. Boys, good job today. I really appreciate it. You went the whole time without talking about gas stations. I know that was a struggle for you.
I'm not one-dimensional. I mean, come on. You know?
Also,
yes.
we didn't really mention Conor McGregor all that much.
Yes, we didn't.
Or we didn't mention Dustin Poirier saying "cut me."
And Ally Quinta. And Ally Quinta.
Wow.
But you guys did a great job today, so I really appreciate it. Thank you for the spirited debate. I'm sure the people on YouTube will appreciate it for what it was actually supposed to be.
Hey, plug me in. I'm here, all right? Plug me in.
We will be back next week. We'll be back next week because not this weekend, which is UFC Prague. Also, Bellator 217. James Gallagher is fighting, and then it's just a bunch of like Irish sort of standout regional
Ward,
guys.
not the Heisman Trophy winner, but Connor's.
Yes,
yeah.
is it Hospital was his middle name? Charlie Hospital Ward. It used to be. It used to be something like that. In any event, that's going to be, I guess, Saturday, and then UFC Prague will be Saturday as well. Stefan Struve on the last fight of his contract, coming off 3 losses in a row, so that's a big one to watch.
Also, Dodson versus Peter
Yan, such a good fight.
Yeah, that's the fight of the weekend.
Yes.
And prayers for Sergei Karatanov's ball bag.